In 2008, InGen, a bioengineering company, is conducting experiments on dinosaur species on an island. While entering the lab, a scientist accidentally drops a candy wrapper, which gets sucked into the airlock of a door. This triggers alarms, the door controls stop working, and the lab turns into a mess as everyone tries to stay safe. One brave scientist goes back to close the door by hand to stop a dinosaur from escaping. During this incident, a worker gets trapped inside and begs for help, but his colleague, worried about the risks, ignores him. Just then, a massive dinosaur attacks the worker from behind, dragging him away and killing him. In 2025, dinosaurs have existed for 32 years since their return. However, most have died out because Earth's current climate is too harsh for them, and public fascination with dinosaurs has waned. The few dinosaurs still alive are found near the equator, where the environment is similar to their ancient habitats. Humans are not allowed to visit that zone. In New York, Martin is frustrated as his car is stuck in traffic caused by a huge Apatosaurus. While stuck, a mercenary named Zora quietly sneaks into his passenger seat and discusses a risky mission. Martin tells her that his superiors at a pharmaceutical company required dinosaur blood to develop a medicine for heart disease, and Zora's task is to enter the restricted zone to obtain it. Initially, she refuses, but she agrees to take it on after Martin offers her a large sum of money. Then Martin and Zora visit a museum to meet Dr. Henry, because he is the one who originally suggested using dinosaur DNA for medicine. Now, Martin wants him to join their mission to collect dinosaur blood samples. Henry explains that they need to get blood from the largest dinosaurs, since those have the biggest heart muscles. So Henry chooses 3 dinosaurs: the Titanosaurus, a massive land dinosaur, the Mosasaurus, a giant sea creature, and the Quetzalcoatlus, a huge flying dinosaur. The task is dangerous because they need to take blood samples from these dinosaurs while they're still alive. Initially, Henry is hesitant to join the mission, so Zora tells Henry that she will protect him from any danger. And Martin further convinces Henry by emphasizing that this is a rare chance to work directly with living dinosaurs. The next morning, trio travel to Paramaribo, Suriname, to meet Duncan, an old friend of Zora's. Duncan had agreed over the phone to help with their mission, but now he hesitates due to high risks involved.
After a heated discussion, Martin persuades Duncan to stay on board by offering him a larger sum of money.
Now the group sets out on Duncan's boat, and he knows the secret waterways to avoid government patrols. While on the boat, they review a map of the area, and Henry shows them his specially designed darts. These darts are designed to pierce the tough skin of dinosaurs, but they must be shot from at least 10 meters away. The darts can automatically collect blood samples and eject themselves. Meanwhile, Ruben is on a sailing trip across the ocean with his daughters Isabella and Teresa's boyfriend, Xavier. As they sail, they notice something swimming close to the boat. Initially, they assume it's dolphins, but the fins appear unusual. Suddenly, the unknown creature bumps into the boat and then swims away quickly. Ruben checks the boat for damage and is relieved to find it's undamaged. Just then, a giant Mosasaurus bursts out of the water, its huge body almost flipping the boat before it dives back under. The boat stabilizes for a moment, but then it capsizes completely. Ruben and his daughters leap into the water to avoid being crushed by the sinking boat. However, Xavier is still trapped inside, and the water pressure is preventing the door from opening. While the girls climb back onto the capsized boat, Ruben tells Xavier to grab the radio from the emergency bag. Xavier finds the bag, kicks the door repeatedly until it opens, and swims out. Ruben also climbs onto its capsized boat. But Xavier is underwater and spots the Mosasaurus swimming nearby. He hurries to the surface and swims as fast as he can toward the boat. Fortunately, the Mosasaurus swims under the boat and leaves, allowing the family to pull Xavier to safety. The next morning, Duncan wakes up his crew. While he's doing this, he hears an urgent Mayday signal. He tells the other about it. But 2 crew members, Martin and Bobby, think they should ignore the signal. However, Zora believes they should help, and Duncan agrees with her. He orders the crew to change the ship's course to head toward the signal. Later, Ruben spots a boat approaching and fires a flare to show their location. After rescuing family, Zora questions why Mosasaurus would attack a boat. Henry suggests that the dinosaur might have viewed the boat as a rival or threat. Suddenly, the boat's radar detects something, and Mosasaurus rams into their boat as well. After the Mosasaurus leaps out of the water, Zora gets into position to shoot dart, and Henry ties her to the deck for safety. Duncan speeds up the boat and Zora prepares to fire. However, the Mosasaurus leaps again, causing her to miss. As the creature gets closer, Duncan starts turning the boat to avoid a collision. Henry grabs another dart for Zora, but the Mosasaurus bumps the boat, making Zora lose her balance and fall. Zora manages to hold on with her legs, and Henry helps her get back up. And Zora takes aim and successfully shoots a dart, which lands on the creature's body. Once the dart full with blood, it pops out and deploys a small parachute, which float down slowly enough for Henry to catch it. After grabbing it, the crew celebrate, and Zora and Henry store the vial in a cold case to keep it safe. However, Henry starts to question the mission, confessing to Zora that he's worried the pharmaceutical company will only provide the new heart disease cure to wealthy people. He believes scientific discoveries should benefit everyone. Just then, the group is stunned to see the Mosasaurus return, accompanied by several Spinosaurus, and Henry is amazed to learn that these two different species are working together in a symbiotic relationship. Seeing them, Bobby runs outside and starts shooting at them, but none of his shots hit the mark. Ignoring Duncan's warnings to stop, Bobby moves to another spot on the boat and keeps firing. Suddenly, a Spinosaurus leaps out of the water behind him, grabs him in its jaws, and drags him back into the sea. Then, the Mosasaurus makes another huge leap, and its landing causes the boat to shake hard, leaving co-pilot Nina dangling over the edge. And luckily survived Spinosaurus attack. Simultaneously, Isabella slips off the deck and nearly falls into the water. Ruben rushes to grab her hand, injuring his leg in the process, but he manages to pull her back to safety just in time. As the boat stabilizes, Nina hurries to a safer spot, while Duncan turns the boat toward the rocky shore, knowing the Mosasaurus can't follow them there. Zora, worried they might crash, prepares life jackets for everyone, while Henry secures the blood sample vial. Teresa tries to use the radio to call for help, but Martin intervenes. When Teresa pushes him away, she slips and falls over the boat's edge, but manages to hold on. However, Martin doesn't try to help and she falls into the water. Seeing her in danger, Xavier quickly grabs a rescue float and jumps in after her to save her. Believing the boat is about to sink, Ruben puts a life jacket on Isabella and they both jump into the water as well. Afterward, the Mosasaurus rams the boat again, shoving it against sharp rocks. Seeing this, Henry and Zora duck to avoid sharp rocks, but the boat's engine explodes, knocking down a crew member named Leclerc, while Duncan keeps the boat moving and reaches shallow waters where the Mosasaurus can't follow. Everyone jumps into the water as the dinosaur swims away. The boat then crashes onto the shore, getting stuck on some rocks. The group swims to the shore, carrying their bags of supplies. On the beach, as Naa reaches for the supplies, a Spinosaurus suddenly attacks her from behind, grabs her with its jaws and drags her away. The others are helpless and can only watch as she is taken. Martin then explains to the group that the dinosaurs on this island are unpredictable due to mutations from experiments conducted by InGen years ago. After that, Zora cuts open a fence to head into the jungle so they can begin exploring. She also reveals that she has arranged for a rescue helicopter to arrive if they fail to make contact within 24 hours, but it will only wait for 2 minutes, so they need to complete their mission quickly. Afterward, the group walk through a muddy swamp to keep going, where Zora questions Martin about Teresa's fall from the boat, but Martin acts like he didn't notice anything. While in the swamp, Zora feeling something touch her leg, but she can't see what it is. Just as they reach the shore, a huge eel suddenly jumps out of the water, startling everyone. Fortunately, the eel swims away without attacking. Meanwhile, Xavier finds Teresa and helps her. Soon, Ruben and Isabella join them. The group swim together until they find a cave that takes them to the island. When they get there, they pause to admire the beautiful scenery. They then notice some old pipes, and Ruben recalls Martin mentioning a village on the island, so they follow the pipes to find them. Later, Isabella tries to pull a dry tree branch from a plant and is surprised to see a tiny aqualops. Ruben calms her down, saying it's harmless because it only eats plants, but Teresa scares it and it runs off. When it gets dark, they stop to rest. Xavier tells Ruben to rest while he keeps watch. Afterward, Xavier steps away to pee. Just then, Aqualops comes near the camp. Isabella wakes up and gently offers it some food, and Aqualops snuggles up next to her like a pet. Meanwhile, as Xavier is peeing in the bushes, 2 velociraptors sneak up behind him. He doesn't notice them until a huge Mutodon suddenly attacks the velociraptors. Scared, Xavier stays completely still, even pausing mid-pee to avoid making any noise. After the dinosaurs fight and leave, Xavier finally relaxes, lets out a sigh and finishes peeing. In the morning, Zora's team reaches a valley where they track some noises and discover a group of Titanosaurus. Two of them are mating, so Henry believes they're too distracted to notice him. He gets close enough to touch one's leg, which make him too emotional, and Zora shoot a dart and collect a blood sample vial without any trouble. On the other hand, the family is moving slowly because Ruben's leg is injured. The Aqualops continues to follow them, and Isabella decides to name it Dolores, putting it in her bag and said she'll keep it as a pet. As they walk, they don't notice a hill hidden behind a tree, and they all trip and roll down it for a few minutes until they stop near a river. There, Ruben notices a strange smell, and Dolores, frightened, runs away. When Teresa looks across the river, she sees an abandoned shed and also notices a boat there and decides to go get it. She swims across the river and reaches the other side where she discovers a half-eaten dinosaur carcass. Suddenly, a Dilophosaurus leaps out and roars at her before fleeing. Then, Teresa turns and sees a T-Rex sleeping nearby in the bushes. So Teresa moves quietly to avoid waking the T-Rex and enters the shed. Inside, she checked the boat and found it damaged. But fortunately, she finds a bag containing an emergency raft. She takes the raft to the riverbank and pulls the lever, causing the raft to inflate with a loud noise that wakes the nearby T-Rex. Fortunately, the T-Rex is looking the other way for now, and Teresa quickly gets on the raft and paddles frantically to reach her family. They all climb aboard the raft. Just then, the T-Rex notices the family and starts chasing them. They paddle the raft as fast as they can, but are shocked to see the T-Rex dive underwater to move quicker, and bursts out of the water in front of them, hitting the raft and knocking everyone into the water. The river's strong currents push Ruben fast enough to avoid the T-Rex's attacks. He then swims towards rocks and hides with Teresa and Xavier, but Isabella is nowhere to be seen. Her screens reveal she's under the raft, which the T-Rex is now trying to bite. Its teeth cannot penetrate the raft's plastic, so it lifts and shakes it. Fortunately, Isabella escapes before the raft is lifted and hurries to rejoin her family. The T-Rex continues chasing her. The family hides behind rocks where the gaps are too narrow for the T-Rex to follow. Frustrated, the T-Rex gives up and leaves. Meanwhile, Zora's team reaches the top of a cliff. There, they see a flying Quetzalcoatlus, which is too dangerous to reach, so they decide to collect a sample from one of its eggs instead. And Leclerc, who knows how to climbing, easily descends to the nest. Henry, however, gathers his courage before going down. Zora follows him and playfully teases him as he clings to the rocks, scared. While at the top of the cliff, Duncan is tying down the ropes when he sees a small dinosaur run by. Curious, he looks closer and sees it disappear into an ancient temple. Just then, Henry's rope slips, and he begins to fall, but Duncan quickly grabs the rope and saves him. The trio continues climbing down until they reach a cave. In the center, they find a nest, and Henry carefully begins collecting a sample from an egg without harming the embryo inside. As they work, Zora asks Henry what he plans to do with the samples. He shares that he wants the heart disease cure to be open source. While Leclerc is securing ropes on the cliff, he sees the mother Quetzalcoatlus coming back to her nest. He yells to warn the others, and they quickly hide behind stone columns just before the dinosaur attacks. And Henry gets trapped in a corner, so Zora yells to distract the dinosaur, giving Henry a chance to grab the vial. But the dinosaur kicks, and the vial gets trapped under its foot. Leclerc quickly throws a tool at the dinosaur's head, making it to come out. He then calls for help, and Duncan and Martin pull the ropes to lift him to safety. As the dinosaur chases Leclerc, Henry grabs the vial, but Quetzalcoatlus accidentally tugs on Henry's rope, causing him to slide out of the temple. Zora is also pulled toward the edge, but uses her legs to stop sliding and grabs the rope to keep Henry from falling. During this, the vial falls and lands on the lower edge, and despite Zora's warnings that the rope might break, Henry swings himself back and forth until he manages to grab the vial again. Meanwhile, on the cliff, Duncan and Martin are still pulling ropes, and suddenly, shocked to see the Quetzalcoatlus appear with Leclerc's body in its mouth. After the dinosaur swallows Leclerc, it turns and chases after Duncan and Martin, so they hurriedly descend the stairs to escape. Right then, the rope snaps and Henry drops into the river below. He swims to the shore and sees Martin and Duncan coming out of the temple while Zora climbs down using ropes. The sample vial lands safely near Henry without breaking. With the sample secured, they're ready to go home. That evening, the family leaves the raft when they spot the InGen buildings. They start yelling for help and Zora's team follows their voices, so the two groups finally meet up and Teresa wastes no time, tells everyone about what Martin did. But he pulls out a gun, keeping everyone back, and claims she's lying. Then Martin grabs the suitcase with the samples and cuffs it to his wrist. Just then, Isabella hears a strange sound, and Henry figures out it's the generator, probably running on a timer. Right then, the gas station lights flash on, and music starts blaring. Then suddenly, two mutadons appear and start chasing the group. Everyone starts running in a panic. The family runs into the gas station, where Ruben and Xavier slam the door shut and hold it tight as one mutadon slams into it repeatedly. To prevent the door from opening, they place a rack in front of it and keep moving. The other mutadon chases Henry and Duncan, who run into a lab and quickly lock the door to keep it out. Inside, Henry realizes this is the room where InGen conducted their crossbreeding experiments. Meanwhile, outside the gas station, Mutadon sees Zora and starts chasing her. But she runs fast to hide under the Jeep with Martin. He shoots at Mutadon but misses every time. Mutadon gets close, grabs Martin, and tosses him over the Jeep. Even in the chaos, Martin holds the suitcase tightly, but drops his gun, which Zora quickly picks up. Inside the gas station, Isabella spots Dolores and goes to pick it up. Just then, Mutadon smashes a hole through the ceiling and breaks into the station. Thinking fast, Isabella quickly grabs Dolores and hides inside a fridge. Mutadon stomps closer and roaring right at the fridge door. So, Ruben throws objects to distract Mutadon. This gives Isabella a chance to slip out of the fridge and carefully rejoin them. As they hide behind shelves, Ruben notices the water and see a hatch. By the time Mutadon reaches their hiding spot, the family has already escaped through the hatch into a tunnel. In the lab, Duncan looks at a map and discovers a network of tunnels under the entire island, which could lead them to a boat at the docks. At that moment, the rescue helicopter arrives. Duncan spots it and tells Henry to go stop the helicopter from leaving while he goes to inform the others. As Henry tries to leave, he hears a loud dinosaur roar, so he quickly hides behind a box. At the same time, Martin sees the helicopter, jumps into a Jeep, and speeds off to reach it first. Zora runs to hide as Mutadon tries to stop Martin, but the Jeep knocks the dinosaur aside and keeps going. Mutadon then hears the family's voices, coming from the tunnels, pulls off a drain cover, and climbs down after them. Zora sees this and follows Mutadon into the tunnel. Meanwhile, the rescue helicopter is leaving, so Henry fires a flare to catch its attention. The pilot sees it and starts to turn back. But suddenly a giant Distortus Rex appears, bites the helicopter and throws it to the ground, where it explodes. Seeing this, Duncan runs from there. While running, Duncan hears the family's voices coming from the tunnels below, so he removes the drain lid. Right then, Henry came there too, so they both climb down and join them. Inside, they are making the plan to reach the docks. Just then, Zora appears beside them and fires her gun, shooting and killing a Mutadon. Afterward, Duncan leads the group through the tunnels toward the docks, but they find the exit blocked by a gate. As the Mutadons start appearing above them, Isabella slips through the gate's bars and runs to the control panel. Inside her bag, Dolores makes a warning sound that Distortus Rex is coming. Isabella is scared, but hears her family yelling and focuses on unlocking the gate. Just as the monster is about to enter the tunnel, it hears Martin's Jeep speeding in and turns to smash it with its giant paw. The group takes advantage of the distraction to slip through the gate and escape. Just then, Distortus Rex grabs Martin and starts eating him, while the suitcase drops and his severed hand still handcuffed to it. Zora quickly grabs the suitcase and runs with the group toward the boat. However, the crane holding the boat is stuck. Suddenly, Distortus Rex appears again and comes close to Isabella, so Henry yells to turn off the light because the creature attracted to light. Duncan hears this and lights a flare, and moving back to draw the monster toward him. He even jumps into the water, swimming away from the docks. Distortus Rex follows and corners him. Meanwhile, Zora cuts the crane's chain, and the boat drops into the water. Then the group jumps aboard, but struggles to start the engine. Just then, Distortus Rex returns and leaps to attack them. At that moment, Ruben starts the engine and the boat escape away from the island. While escaping, they spot a flare in the sky and follow it to rescue Duncan. The next morning, Ruben notices that Isabella still has Dolores safely tucked in her bag. Zora asks Henry about the samples, and they agree it's time to share their discovery with the world.